Hello, my friend, and welcome to Something for Everybody. My name is Aaron Machbitz, and today is a solo episode of the podcast where I'm discussing Dr. Jordan Peterson. Dr. Jordan Peterson has been a massive influence on my life and a massive influence on millions of men. So in today's episode, I'm going to discuss 5 Dr. Jordan Peterson quotes that will make you a better person, a better man, or whatever journey you are on in your life. So let's jump right in with number 1. Can you imagine yourself in 10 years if instead of avoiding the things you should do, you actually did them every single day? That's powerful. Of all of the amazing, insightful Dr. Jordan Peterson quotes, this is one of my favorites. Because all too often we live our lives for the present moment. This is not to say that we are in the present moment, because being in the present moment is extremely important. We want to be where our feet are because the present moment is where all things are expressed, especially our greatness. Rather, we focus on the pain and pleasure caused by our actions today instead of considering the long-term ramifications of our decisions. Little decisions made to experience pleasure in the moment. Things like skipping the gym or smoking a cigarette or staying home to play video games or foregoing date night to stay late at the office don't seem, consequential in the present moment. But the instant gratification outweighs the far off consequences of your decisions. But when you consider the compound effect, that's what we're talking about here, stretched out over a decade, you begin to see the true cost of your lust for instant gratification. When you ask yourself, where will my life be in a decade from today if I continue with this pattern or behavior? You'll quickly realize the hidden dangers of doing what is easy over doing what is right. Each day, you should seek to bargain with the future, to sacrifice a modicum of pleasure or comfort in the present moment for a plethora of pleasures in the future, because it is small decisions repeated over the years that determine the quality of our life. I have defined self-care as a commitment to our future self. So when we think about it like that, this lines up perfectly with this quote from Dr. Jordan Peterson, right? Our habits will determine our life. So if you want to see where someone's going to be at, yourself included, in 10 years, look at that person's habits, because everything compounds and aggregates over time. And so we have to think about the long-term vision of who we are and who we want to be instead of instantly just always wanting what we want in this moment now. We have to mature and realize what's better for us long-term. And so then we move on to number 2. Quote number 2. The way that you make people feel resilient is by voluntarily exposing them to things that they are afraid of and that make them uncomfortable. The way that you make people resilient, listen to it again, is by voluntarily exposing them to things that they are afraid of and that make them uncomfortable. The key word, and Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about this all the time, the key word is voluntary. David Goggins also talks about this as voluntary suffering and involuntary suffering. It's all about voluntary suffering to combat us and armor us for the involuntary suffering, Because we live in a world of unprecedented ease and comfort. That can be good, that can be bad. Decide for yourself. But everything we need and most of the things we want are available with the click of a button or the flick of a switch. And it's made us a bit weak to voluntarily suffer and to handle the involuntary suffering. And we seem to be incapable of suffering, again, the mildest of inconveniences. To be a strong man, a resilient man, a grounded man, capable of exerting his goodwill on the world and achieving his deepest desires to create and to build and to provide and to protect, you must immunize yourself against discomfort. As Jordan Peterson describes, you must voluntarily expose yourself to your fears and discomforts. That's voluntary suffering, right? Whether it's taking cold showers, getting in the gym, signing up for a boxing class, and getting punched in the face, right? Going on a wilderness retreat, or joining a men's group, or doing things that scare you and cause you discomfort. And you'll be a better, stronger, and more capable man as a result. I mean, this really goes for anyone, this idea of voluntarily suffering. It's about doing hard things to armor ourselves for the hard things that we face involuntarily in life. And so, yes, we live in this beautiful world where things are convenient and easy. And so we have to muster up the courage to go and do those hard things, because the harsh realities of life still exist. There is still pain and death and regret and tragedy and loss and evil. Just because more things are easy and convenient doesn't mean those real harsh truths of the world go away. So we have to armor ourselves with the ability to voluntarily suffer, like Dr. Jordan Peterson talks about, exposing ourselves voluntarily. So when those things do happen in our life, we have that armor and that capability and that resiliency to try and move forward through those things. That's number 2. Let's jump to number 3, which is work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens. Few men really understand the true meaning of hard work. I think especially nowadays that may be more true. But, and I'm not referring, when I talk about hard work, I'm not referring to like physical labor, but rather the experiences of giving everything you have to a project or passion. Our young men today need our help. They need our support. They need our courage. They need to uplift themselves. They also, at the same time, with that said, we need to have more structures and systems and initiatives to help young men. But at the same time, young men need to take accountability for themselves and their actions. If they adopt Dr. Jordan Peterson and Jocko Willink's 2 unbelievably strong mentors for young men, then they'll take extreme ownership over their life. Because the simple fact is most men are dabblers. We pathologically half-ass our way from one career, business, or pursuit to the next, failing to really go all in and risk everything in pursuit of our ambitions, our passions, or becoming, the best version of ourselves in greatest service to the world. But at least once in this life, because this life is all we have. There's not a dress rehearsal, there's not a redo. This is all we have right here, right now. Every man, every person should, shun this way of being and commit to something with his entire self. Whether it's met with failure or success, that doesn't matter. The experience of leaving nothing on the table, of exerting yourself to your fullest capacity, because it will leave you a stronger person, a stronger man who knows from experience what he's truly capable of. Right? This is very, very powerful. Let me read you the quote one more time. Work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens. I guarantee you're at least going to learn something about yourself, how capable, how strong, how powerful you are, or it's going to work out and you've created something beautiful in your life. Maybe you're going to work as hard as you possibly can on being a father, on being a great husband. I guarantee that's going to create a fruitful, meaningful existence beyond anything else that you could possibly have. I just got married last September. God willing, I am going to be a father and have a family. That is going to be the thing that I work hardest at no matter what. Of course, my businesses are going to be important because I want to be able to provide a great life for my family. But working as hard as I possibly can as a husband and a father is going to be the greatest thing that I ever do, and going to create the most meaningful and fruitful relationships of my life. It'll also be the hardest thing that I ever do. But I'm going to go all in. I'm going to risk it all. And that's what we have to do if we want to, one, become the best version of ourselves, but also have the most meaningful life that we can possibly have. And this is what we're here for. There is no second run. This is not a dress rehearsal. Again, life is precious, and it's here, and it's now, and it's fragile. And we have to go for it, and we have to give our best. And like Jocko says, we have to have extreme ownership over our actions and take responsibility for who we are and who we want to be. That's number 3. We have 2 more. Let's go to number 4. Let me take a drink first. Number 4, I don't think that you have any insight whatsoever into your capacity for good until you have some well-developed insight into your capacity for evil. Again, I'm going to read that again. I don't think that you have any insight whatsoever into your capacity for good until you have some developed insight into your capacity for evil. As a species, we are very quick to underestimate our capacity for evil, whatever form it takes. Oh, I would never do that. Oh, I would never partake in that. How do you know? You weren't thrusted into that situation to have to make that decision or make that choice to potentially have to do that sort of evil. And so we like to imagine ourselves as these sort of paragons of goodness. We see this virtue signaling all the time, all over social media. Dr. Gad Saad calls it suicidal empathy. There's toxic compassion. This is what it's talking about, right? We believe ourselves to be the paragons of goodness and virtue, and assume that whatever we're doing is good because we're doing it, and we can rationalize any action given enough time. But the truth is, the real truth, and we have to come to terms with this. That's why I love this quote so much. The real truth is, all of us, you, me, and everyone you know, is capable of more evil than we possibly realize. I mean, just look at the human atrocities throughout the world. Those are committed by humans just like me and you. The world can and often will potentially break us all. And as Jordan Peterson points out, it's only once we recognize and have firsthand experience with our capacity for evil. That's potentially by reading books or understanding human nature or all these sorts of things that might give you that firsthand experience with our capacity for evil, our meaning human beings. Then we can fully appreciate and understand our capacity for good, because we can make that choice. Knowing your capacity for both good and evil causes you to be more tempered, more conscientious, and more aware of the influences in your life that affect you and can have an effect on your future. So when you know that darkness dwells inside of you, inside all of us, and is possible to come out at any moment, you'll be more strongly drawn to the light and want to produce that light more and more, because you're aware of how dark and evil potentially humans can be, and you also have that capability. So you're more inclined and more capable of drawing out that light in you, and that's what you want to shine onto the world. So again, to sum up that, let's read that quote one more time. I don't think you have insight whatsoever into your capacity for good until you have some well-developed insight into your capacity for evil. So it's not about virtue signaling. It's not about this toxic compassion or this suicidal empathy. It's about really coming to terms with our own darkness, our own shadow, and understanding that, yes, that's part of us, but I am more capable and more strong than that, I can express and draw out my light into the world. And that's about becoming this best version of me so that I can be in greatest service to the world. And that's extremely powerful. So thank you, Dr. Jordan Peterson. And number 5, to round us out. Number 5, you have to treat yourself like you matter. Because if you don't, then you don't take care of yourself, and you become vengeful and cruel, and you take it on people around you, and you're not a positive force. None of that is good. You suffer more, and so does everyone else around you. I want to read the first part to you because that's the most important part of this quote. You have to treat yourself like you matter. You have to treat yourself like you matter, because you do. You absolutely do matter. There will never, ever, ever be another you. That's why you matter so damn much. And that's why the world needs you. And that's why taking care of yourself is so important, right? We no longer in this world, well, a lot of us, I feel like, treat ourselves as if we matter. Whether this has been caused by the rise of secular nihilism or economic shifts or whatever the fact is, it remains that men, really men, no longer treat themselves as if they matter, because they feel as if they don't, because they've also been told that they don't matter for long periods of time. But the truth is, you do matter. You deeply, deeply matter. The world needs you here. I don't care how cliche it may seem or may sound. It doesn't matter. You are a vessel of limitless potential with the power to transform the very fabric of reality, because that's how much you matter. The world needs you. You have the power to transform the very fabric of reality. That's so powerful, because the world needs you. That's how much you truly matter. I know it doesn't matter. It's not cliche. It's the fact. It is an absolute fact that you matter. And the only way to reach your potential and fulfill your mission on this planet is to treat yourself like you matter, to care for yourself, to prioritize yourself, to be a little bit selfish enough to give yourself what you need while realizing that this is only from this place of self-love and self-care that you can love and care for others. That's really what being the best version of you in greatest service to the world really means. I have to get my energy right. Energy, work, love. I have to be brilliant at the fundamentals of eating, moving, sleeping, and thinking well so that I have enough capacity to then care and serve for others to the best of my ability. So wherever you are in your life today, I challenge you. I really challenge you to prioritize yourself, to do the things you've always wanted to do, to treat yourself to the things you enjoy and prioritize your own health, performance, and happiness as if they are the only things that matter, because in your world, they are, because you matter that deeply. Self-love is the only antidote to the chaos of existence. And if you don't love and care for yourself and your own needs, you will cause unnecessary suffering both for yourself and others. So, to round it out, to say that first part of that quote again, you have to treat yourself like you matter, simply because you do, and the world needs you. And that wraps up the 5 quotes that I find really, really powerful from Dr. Jordan Peterson. If you've never studied Dr. Jordan Peterson's work, I really urge you to check him out and all the things that he's produced over the years, which is a lot of really high quality stuff, especially if you're a man who's trying to become that best version of himself. And so if you did enjoy this episode and you found it valuable at all whatsoever, please share it with a friend. That's the best marketing tool we have for this podcast. But other than that, I appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Lots of love. Cheers. Thank you very much for tuning into that episode. And if you enjoyed it, click right here for another full-length episode of the podcast. And please don't forget to subscribe. But most importantly, above all else, please take good care of yourselves and others. And I'll see you next time. Lots of love. Cheers.